Supervisor Letourneau, this is Amy. Do you want to go ahead and test your audio and video?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I got up and she was in I thought she was in a cave, but she's all black. So when I looked down, I can't see anything in the cave. So I bent over, and all I saw were two upside-down white eyes. And so I figured she had rolled over on her back with her feet spread.
Good evening, supervisors. Good evening, staff. Good evening, Loudon. I'd like to call to order the July 13th, 2022 Loudon County Board of Supervisors public hearing. This room has a hearing loop. If you need hearing assistance, please switch your hearing aids to the telecoil mode. If you need a headset, we have those available as well. Would everybody please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a reminder, if you are here to address the board from the public, and you may only speak on one matter that has been advertised for this public hearing. Due to the broadcast delay, any member of the public who is not in the boardroom wishing to address the board on items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which are on the consolidated hearing agenda, please call the number scrolling across your screen at this time. If you signed up to speak, you'll be allotted 2.5 minutes. If you're in the boardroom, we ask when your name is called, please come to the podium closest to you, state your name for the record. The timer on the podium will indicate your remaining time. When your time has expired, please yield the floor to the next speaker. If you're providing your comments via telephone, I'm going to ask a favor. I'm going to ask that you actually use a stopwatch and time yourself. That's because if you're on the phone, you can't see your clock in the room. But if I stop you when you only have 30 seconds left, it bothers your flow. And so I don't do that. I let you go through the whole time, and I'll stop you at the end. So just time yourself if you don't mind. And when taking public input, I will ask for first if there's anybody in the room wishing to speak, and then I will go to the moderator on the phone to ask if there's anyone who wants to speak via online. Our moderator this evening is Jacqueline Wilson. Jacqueline, can you hear me?
Madam Chair, she's signing people in right now.
Jacqueline is signing people in right now, but she can probably hear me. We're going to believe that?
Yeah.
Okay. Please note that there's a slight delay between the broadcast and the boardroom. Please also note that item number 7, the innovation multifamily item, has been deferred to a future public hearing. We did advertise that publicly in advance, and because we advertised that publicly in advance, we will take no action on item number 7, and we will have no public speakers for item number 7 tonight. Pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3708-2 and the Board of Supervisors, Board of Supervisors Rules of Order, Supervisor Matt Letourneau has requested to participate in this meeting by electronic communication from his home. Supervisor Letourneau cannot attend today because of medical reasons. A physical quorum of the board is present in the boardroom, and the board has made arrangements for Supervisor Letourneau to be heard by all persons in the boardroom. Supervisor Letourneau made this request within the required time frame, and the county attorney determined that the Supervisor Letourneau meets the qualifications to participate remotely. The board will record in its minutes that Supervisor Letourneau participated remotely from his home because of medical reasons. Mr. Letourneau, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. All right. The board will hear Mr. Buffington is running late, but he will be here. If he is not here, I will do the item number 2, which is the round hill boundary line adjustment. I will read that since in his stead if he is not here yet, and I don't think he will be. The board will hear the following items in the consolidated hearing. As a reminder, these items are consolidated because there is no outstanding issues. The staff has recommended approval. The applicant has waived their presentation time, and no public speakers registered in advance to speak to the board. The items on the consolidated agenda are number 1, proposed conveyance of county property, grant of easement to Northern Virginia Electric Cooperative. Number 2, the boundary line adjustment between the town of Round Hill and Loudon County. Number 3, special exception special exception 2021-0039, Ashburn Corporate Center Hotels. Item 4, special exception 2021-0052, NCPMT 2021-0013, MDS Equine Center. Maybe Equine Center is probably the better way to pronounce that. Item 5, a ZRTD 2021-0008, and special exception 2021-0040, 1501 Moran Road. Are there any members of the public in the boardroom tonight or on the WebEx who wish to speak on any item on the consolidated agenda? Jacqueline, I assume there's nobody there. So seeing none, I will close the consolidated public hearing. Board members, please refer to your documents on the consolidated hearing motion sheet that was distributed via email and placed in your dais. As I go through the consolidated meeting items, the first item is in the Catoctin District, the second's in Blue Ridge District, the third's in Broad Run, the fourth's in Catoctin, and the fifth is in the Broad Run District. For the proposed conveyance of county property, grant of easement to Northern Virginia Electric Cooperative, Mr. Kirsten, would you like to make a motion, sir?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move the Board of Supervisors approve motion 2B for the approval of the conveyance as provided in the July 13th, 2022 public hearing, item number 1, staff report.
Motion was made, seconded by Mr. Buffington. Is there discussion on that item? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. That motion will pass 9-0. Number 2 is the boundary line adjustment between the town of Round Hill and, No, he said aye. It was just delayed. I got it. I'm cool. The boundary line is between the town of Round Hill and Loudon County, which is the Blue Ridge District. Mr. Buffington, would you like to make a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of Supervisors approve motion 1 to forward the boundary line agreement as provided in the July 13, 2022 public hearing, item number 2, staff report.
Oh, I was going to second that one, but I'm going to be really, really nice. I like to have that second, if you don't mind. Okay, thank you, sir. The motion made by Mr. Buffington, and I second that. Discussion on that motion. Mr.
Just
Buffington.
that this is good for the county and for the town.
Amen.
Thank you.
Anything else? All in favor, please say aye. Mr. Letourneau, aye?
Yeah, the button was stuck. Aye.
All right. Mr. Letourneau, I'm going to assume an aye unless you just yell out nay. How's that sound?
Okay.
I can. That motion will pass 9-0. Number 3 is the Broad Run District, the Ashburn Corporate Center Hotels. Ms. Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of Supervisors approve motion 2B for the approval of the special exception as provided in the July 13th, 2022 public hearing, item number 3, staff report.
Motion is made and seconded by Supervisor Umstattd. Discussion on that motion.
No discussion.
Wonderful. Anybody? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
That motion will pass 9-0. Item 5, special exception for the MDS Equine Center in the Catoctin District.
Yes, Madam Chair. I move the Board of Supervisors approve motion 2B for the ratification of the commission permit and approval of the special exception as provided in the July 13th, 2022 public hearing, item number 4, staff report.
Motion is made and seconded by Mr. Buffington. Discussion on that motion.
The only thing I would say, Madam Chair, is if you've never had an opportunity to tour the equine center we have just outside of Leesburg, it's quite a facility, and Virginia Tech has done a great job. It's really the world premiere horses come here, and I'm glad that we're able to bring in this special exception and allow for public utilities, and it will really make a big difference for this location. So thank you, Madam Chair.
I would associate myself with those comments. Anybody else? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion will pass 9-0. And finally, the Moran Road special exception on the 1501 Moran Road. It's also in the Broad Run District. Ms. Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of Supervisors approve motion 2B for the approval of the ZRTD and the special exception as provided in the July 13th, 2022 public hearing, item number 5, staff report.
Motion is made and seconded by Supervisor Umstattd. Discussion on the motion.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
This application is for a data center under the airport runways and in a very industrial area of Sterling. It is attractive and well-planned with both a planning commission and staff recommendation of approval. I am concerned moving forward about where data centers will continue to get their electrical power, but this data center is located very close to an existing substation, existing power lines, and a planned future substation. So I think this location will have the capacity and easily serve this data center. I thank staff for their work on this application.
Okay, anybody else? I would add that it is in a very industrial area where we have placed data centers before and we will place them again. So it's in a place that we want the data centers to be located. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion will pass 9-0. All right. The item we will take up next is number 6, the Mountain View residential item. Will staff please come to the table? Supervisors, there is a presentation of 9 slides. I am going to, unless you have an objection, Mr. Letourneau, I'm going to ask the staff to give the presentation.
Yes, I think they should. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I am a last-minute stand-in for Marshall Brown this evening.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
Hope to keep to the same standards. So go ahead and get started. Oh, it's not liking me tonight. Mountain View Residential. This is a rezoning and special exception application for a 6-acre parcel located between Route 50, Tall Cedars Parkway, and west of Poland Road. Again, 2 applications. First, the remapping. This would convert the property from Countryside Residential 1 to a Residential 8 zoning district. It would allow them to develop up to 41 townhouse units, 6 of which would be affordable dwelling units, and 2 would be unmet housing need units, which are above the ADU range. This would result in an overall density of 6.5 dwelling units per acre. The special exception, which can be anticipated as part of an ADU zoning district request, is to reduce the setback along Mountain View Drive from 15 feet to 10 feet. More detail about the concept, you can see conservation areas identified, active recreational spaces, supplemental plantings to the residential uses to the north, and also the setback area applicable to the special exception. And you'll see the alignment of the residential units here. Some additional details, supplemental evergreen plantings like we discussed, 5 spaces per unit, which was a request of the Planning Commission to exceed the ordinance standard. This would include 4 spaces per lot and 39 overall spaces available to the community. And as mentioned in the previous graphic, there are a number of recreational areas totaling about 22,000 square feet. There are improvements to Mountain View Road associated with this application, in addition to pedestrian improvements. As you see here, internal sidewalks, also a shared use path along Poland Road. Number of proffered commitments to design standards. Again, more details about the recreation spaces, commitments to the conservation areas we previously identified, and there has been an interest by the Planning Commission in committing to native species for landscaping consistent with the policies of the revised the comprehensive plan. So one issue identified, this is something that's come up to the board several times with the adoption of the new plan. The capital facilities policies talk about contributions for all market rate units exclusive of ADU. With the unmet housing needs use concept, that was not anticipated by the plan. And we do know that the Fiscal Impact Committee will be taking this up later this year. So that requires about a deficit of about $81,000. So typically, all units pay except for ADUs. The plan would anticipate these additional unmet housing needs units to pay. That represents a deficit of about $81,000.
The 2.
The 2, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And that's the total of townhouse units would be about $40,000 per the capital intensity factor. So Commission did move it forward with approval, and we can support contingent upon addressing the specific policy I just mentioned. That is the presentation. Thank you,
Okay.
board members.
Thank you, sir. This is in the Dallas District. Mr. Letourneau, I will go to you for questions first, sir.
Thank you. Well, I do want to note that there have been changes to the proffer package. One thing that was just mentioned on the slide deleted, which is the path up to Poland Road, and replaced with a different sidewalk segment along Mountain View Drive. So hopefully the applicant can, I don't want to use all my time to go walk through that. I have two questions on two issues for staff. The first is the concept of infill development. It was noted by one of the speakers that, last month that the concept of infill is that it should complement or complete a larger development area. Can you just discuss how, staff's determination is that this application meets that concept of infill, but there's 1 unit per acre that's surrounding this project on 3 sides and more dense development on 1 side. So can you discuss how staff came to that determination?
Do my best to ramp up to today. At first, it was a higher density than the suburban neighborhood place type anticipated. We had talked to the applicant about a compact suburban neighborhood option with the 7 criteria. They made adjustments by dropping the number of units that brought it down to acceptable density. And with the ADU unit just above the 6 dwelling units per acre anticipated by the place type, and the ADUs was considered an acceptable exception. Reading through the report today, I did note that they did talk about the infill policy. I would have to get you some additional detail to fully explain that, but it was felt in this context with the existing residential developments around it that it was a natural sort of progression or transition between these higher density units to the south and those to the west and north.
Okay, let me tackle another issue which is related to stormwater. I'd like to ask General Services, I know Chris Stone is on and Chris has been out there and we've met, but if he could comment on a little bit of the issues that exist in the Savoy States and the Mountain View area. And I'm going to ask if we can say, essentially, what do we need to do to evaluate the impacts of this proposal on the surrounding properties as it relates to stormwater, given that I think Chris will say there is an existing issue in this area. And this site is a little bit higher elevation than the surrounding communities. So what standards will the applicant have to meet? What do we do to ensure there's no communities? And is there anything further that we can look at in terms of analysis before approval of this application that would address the concerns that I know the residents have, and we'll probably hear from them tonight?
Chris, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. Can everybody hear me all right?
Correct.
You're just fine.
Okay. Yeah, so like Supervisor Letourneau said, I had made a site visit to the neighborhoods at the request of the residents to look at the existing drainage issues that they have throughout that entire neighborhood. And one of the concerns raised is that once this site is built out, even if it's somewhat elevated above its current elevation, that accounting for that runoff in sheet flow going into the various properties, that it'll just make the existing problem worse. And obviously that's something we're trying to avoid in that area. So most of the drainage issues occur sort of along the roadways and things like that. And it's just the nature of how that area or that neighborhood is sort of laid out. I'm happy to answer any specific questions if anybody has one.
Well, I'm going to give
My
Mr.
time is up,
Letourneau,
Madam Chair.
I'm going to, your time is up, but I'm going to give you just a little bit more time because with due respect, I don't know, was your question answered, Mr. Letourneau?
Well, what I was asking was, what can we do to ensure that, whether there's additional analysis or what can we ask for a proffer that can ensure that we won't have impacts on the surrounding properties?
Yeah, sorry about that. Essentially, I think what we could do is ask for a drainage study to be done pre and post to ensure that, once the site is completely built out, that we're not having any unintended consequences of runoff going on to adjacent properties.
Okay.
Okay. Ms. Brixman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Staff, what does the 2019 general plan identify this area as?
Suburban neighborhood place type.
So is it fair to say that the zoning just hasn't caught up yet with what will be, what
Yes, ma'am.
this area will be calling for?
Correct.
Okay. What's the distance from Poland Road to what will be the entrance into the community on Mountain View Drive, if that makes sense?
My guesstimate here would probably be 800 feet.
Okay.
I would have to look into that more. in
Okay.
detail.
But it's not anticipated that people who live in this community would have a need to go all the way in on Mountain View Drive, right? Because it doesn't come back out to Poland Road, does it? Mountain View Drive doesn't make a circle around, does it?
No, I believe it dead ends.
Right.
So one of the amendments Mr. Letourneau had mentioned was that the community was asking for safe access into the neighborhood, and the applicant did agree to extend that sidewalk farther, not so much to serve this site, but to allow residents beyond them to get safe access from Poland Road further into the neighborhood.
Okay. And would you say that this type of development would fit well with the suburban policy area?
Correct. We have determined this concept is consistent with that place
Right.
type.
And Planning Commission was recommended for approval?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the staff's only issue is the 80,000?
Correct. It's not a deniable issue that we would see. It's just continuing to flag it for your discussion. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To continue with Supervisor Letourneau's questioning, I want to take it just a step further to staff. Are you aware of any situations in which a development could conveniently and for a marginal additional cost mitigate harmful stormwater effects on surrounding properties with their improvements on the application property? So I believe the applicant has 3 lid features that they're going to put in here. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Has anybody looked at or talked to Loudon Water to see if there's a way that we can design those features preemptively at marginal extra cost to address not just the impact the site will have, but the impact the site will have on surrounding properties and alleviate that problem? Is that
That is the concept, but we could further to refine that. We could.
Okay.
Now, overall, there is a state requirement that your post-development standard cannot exceed your pre-development standard. So
Right.
if they're accepting water from another property, they're going to have to continue to carry that through, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay, I'll let that one percolate, but I'm kind of interested in that concept, and I'll ask the applicant when we get over there. What, in your estimation, is the likelihood that VDOT will approve the 2 crosswalks?
We did not anticipate that they wouldn't. It's always timing, how long it would take them to do that.
Okay, so your anticipation is that I'm particularly interested in the crosswalk over to East Lake, across Poland Springs, I think it is? Yeah. That's the one that I think they're probably going to balk at. What's the requirements to have that approved? Do you know? Is it a warrant study?
It'd be a warrant study, and it's also the white cap. It would be a mid-block crosswalk, so that would probably take some additional discussion and coordination.
Okay. And then they're improving, the shared use path is out, according to Supervisor Letourneau, and they're improving, I think there's a 25-foot guaranteed easement off center line of Mountain View Road, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that 25 feet takes you out to the proposed sidewalk on the north side.
Correct. It's the width of the frontage along Mountain View Road.
Okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is the applicant making safety improvements to Mountain View Drive?
Yes, ma'am, they are along their frontage and with the pedestrian, the shared use path and the pedestrian linkages.
Shared use path and pedestrian linkage?
Correct. They're expanding the road consistent with the countywide transportation plan. They're adding the appropriate turn lanes. They're adding pedestrian improvements along their frontage. There was the proposal for the shared use path along Poland, although Mr. Letourneau did reference that has been traded for a longer sidewalk distance along Mountain View Road past the project.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sains.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. All right, so see, there we go. All right, so we got single-family homes here. I can't make out these. What are these?
Townhomes.
Townhomes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we got townhomes here as well, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay, and the application obviously is here, so it's got single-family townhomes here, and these are going to be, remind me again,
These will be 41 townhomes.
41 townhomes, okay. Are these going to be like the ones where it's 2 over 2, or?
No, sir, just your, it would be 3-story, I believe, ground level garages, and 2 stories above.
So what are those like here, or what are those townhomes like?
Those are townhomes to the south. I believe they're of a narrow design. I don't believe they're 2 over 2s. I can verify that for you.
So pretty much it sounds like the similar.
Similar development style, although these lots would be somewhat larger.
A little bit larger, right?
Yeah, the widths would be somewhat larger.
Okay, but the same
General-
traditional, go in the front door and then have the main level, or, the garage on the basement, and then go up the stairs and have the main level with the kitchen and the balcony possibly, and then go up another level and have the bedrooms.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's similar to what's being proposed, I'm assuming, with this application. You said it's not 2 over 2s, is that correct?
Correct. These are your 3-story, ground level garage townhomes.
Okay, so very similar to what there will be possibly backing up to or fronting, or however you look at it.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Mr. Buffington.
And I do apologize. I know I shouldn't go after the vice chair. So sorry.
If you could,
so sorry.
If you could not,
Um,
no. Yeah.
I just have one question, if it's okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and I'm sorry I was late.
Yeah.
Staff, could you just give us a little update on what has changed in the proffers from the last time we met on this? And if not, then could at least the applicant, when you go through your presentation, that would be my same question.
Quickly, it's following the packet going out for the hearing, the applicant submitted revised proffers, again, exchanging the multi-use path on Poland Road to extending the sidewalk into the Mountain View development, 2 more parking spots within the development, and also additional signage along Mountain View Road regarding parking, limits on parking and pedestrian safety.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Sains asked a lot of my questions and used no, it's fine, and used a pointer to do it. So took my question, took my pointer, did all that. So let's go, and this may be no, that question's for the applicant. Let's go to the discussion about the UNOs, the $81,000 deficit. We're not. Are we allowed to? So. I know you're saying that's not something that will stop the applicant. It's not an issue that the staff believes will stop. What is our ability to? We can't demand that, right?
Correct. It is a proffer.
It's a proffer.
Correct.
Okay.
What we're asking, is the board satisfied that they're reasonably mitigating their impact with the amount of contributions that they're making to date, exclusive of these 2?
Exclusive of those 2.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have any illustratives?
Of the units?
Mm-hmm.
Within my presentation, no, but I believe the applicant will.
The applicant might have some of those?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I want to have a longer conversation later on offline about the UNO's discussion and how we do that, and the whole discussion about cash in lieu, land in lieu. That whole discussion we kind of started. I'd like to just dive into that discussion.
No problem.
Later on. Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Good evening. How are you all doing? You have 10 minutes. You can sit there if you'd like, or you can stand at the podium. Either way is fine with us.
Madam Chair, Packy, would you like to control your own PowerPoint?
Oh, I'd love to.
Okay.
I didn't know I could do that now. That's great.
Let the cat out of the bag.
Okay.
It will be a little bit of a delay. So.
Okay. Do I need to do anything on this screen here?
Just press the right.
Oh, the right.
Forward and backward.
Forward, backward. Okay, thank you. Oh, fantastic. Oh.
I
need to make it screen.
Yeah. Hold on just a second. Okay. Why is it? There you go.
There we go. Good evening.
Good evening.
And this is really exciting that we're back to almost normal now in presentation mode. So thank you very much. For the record, my name's Packy Crown. I'm a planner with Bowman, and I'm representing the applicant tonight. Also here is Sasha Brower, and she's the attorney that's been working on this application. I'll give you a little bit of background on the application, if I can figure out how to make it move forward.
Packy, can you just, on the side, the button might need to pull down to turn it on. It might have been turned off by accident.
It was. Thank you. There we go. Now I've clicked way too far. Let me go back. I'm sorry. We started this application about 2 years ago, and we have been working on it with staff, with the community, and gone through several revisions. So I'm going to briefly go through those revisions with you just to put it in context. But this property was originally the DiBaggio Herb Garden Center in the Dulles area. It is west of Poland, just north of Mountain View Drive. Mountain View is a dead-end road. This property would not have access beyond the main entrance into the property. But as you can see here, the property has been developed over time and used as a garden center, and it is contiguous or adjacent to a variable width open space buffer on the north between Savoy Woods to the north. There are the reserve at South Riding Townhomes to the south, and to the west there are lots that are single-family use and also used for some other activities. Our original proposal was for 50 units. My client wanted to address the attainable affordable housing issues in the county, and that was his sole purpose in filing this application. The proposal is to rezone to the R8 district. It is, filed it under the suburban compact neighborhood classification because this property is about a half a mile from Eastgate Shopping Center and 0.6 miles to the Eastgate Park and Ride lot, which has daily service to the Wheelie Metro and beyond. We filed it with, as I said, 50 units, all single family, all 18-foot wide units at 17% unmet housing needs, which would have been the combination of ADUs and UNUs. After working with staff and getting our referrals from staff, getting comments from the community, Planning Commission, and Supervisor, we have made several changes to the application. One of the changes that we made was go from suburban place type in the suburban compact neighborhood to the suburban place type infill at the direction of staff. We reduced the density from 50 units to 41. We changed the orientation of units, and I'll show you that, and included architectural treatments throughout the community, but especially along Mountain View Drive. We increased the tree preservation and conservation areas on the property, included an increased parking. We were at 4.9 units spaces per unit at Planning Commission. Supervisor Letourneau asked us to increase that to 5, which we have done in the revised proffers that were not in your packet, but they have been revised. And we are proposing to make Mountain View Drive improvements along the frontage of the property out to Poland Road. Right now, that road is a 2-lane road that was improved by VDOT as a pave-in-place improvement in 2020. We are going to improve from our property out to Poland and bring it up to a standard 2-lane road with sidewalks and curb and gutter, so that it meets VDOT standards along this section of road to improve the safety in this area. And we also looked at the stormwater management for this particular project because of concerns raised by the community and concerns that they do have in the community, and we recognize those. The revised plan, as I said, went to 41 units. However, we went from 17% unmet and attainable housing up to 19.5%. So we have 6 ADUs and 2 UNUs. We have 5 parking spaces per unit, and we have incorporated a proffer to put no parking signs on both the north and south sides of Mountain View Drive. Supervisor Letourneau asked us to increase those, so we went from 2 to 4. And we also agreed at his request to extend a pedestrian sidewalk in the community because of the concern that they have for not being able to easily walk to Poland Road because there are no sidewalks in the community today. There would be sidewalks incorporated in our frontage improvements, but there aren't any as you go further up Mountain View Drive. We increased the tree save area in the community or in this plan so that we could save 2 specimen trees. We've got a minimum 40% open space in the proffers, but actually this plan is right around 45% open space. We also proffered to low impact design, of course, and 3 low impact facilities in this project. This slide shows you the difference between our original application and the one before you tonight. And really, when we reduced the density, we pulled the units back out of the treed area on the property and really tried to just contain this new development to the area of the property that's already been disturbed over the years with the DiBaggio herb farm. And you can see there with this aerial how many buildings exist on the property today. As I mentioned, we've worked with Supervisor Letourneau, who asked us to extend the sidewalk around the curve, if you will, into the community in order to address safety needs. But one of the features of this plan I want to point out to you is when we were designing this plan, we incorporated an active recreation area that borders Mountain View Drive. Because this is an older subdivision, CR1 subdivision, there are no neighborhood facilities, active recreation facilities for children or people to congregate in. So we placed one up on Mountain View. We actually have over 2 times the amount of active recreation space in this plan than is required by the zoning ordinance. And so this space has been designed to have tot lot, benches, picnic areas. And so this addition of the pedestrian trail on the north side of Mountain View will add access to that, direct access to that recreation area for the community as well. Our proffers for this project we have proffered the $6,000 per unit regional road contribution, $1,000 per unit for transit, the environmental features that are shown on the plan, tree conservation, specimen trees. We added supplemental landscaping along the north side of the property adjacent to the Savoy Woods open space to better buffer that. And then we also used that area for an herb garden or a community garden area for this community that we thought kind of carried through the legacy of the original owners of the property. We have design guidelines. The concern in the community was they didn't want to have units backing to Mountain View Drive, so we redesigned this project so that there will be units fronting on Mountain View. They will be rear-loaded. At least 30% of the facades of those units, front and side, will be masonry. All of these units will have masonry and articulation all throughout the community. So they meet the design guidelines of the suburban policy area. And we've addressed, I think, the community's concern that they're not looking at rear yards when they're driving past them. We've also proffered the capital facility contributions for this project for the market rate units. That totals roughly $1.3 million in this application. So the issue before you on paying capital facilities for unmet housing needs units, We ask that we come to you all to discuss this because, as all of us know, we're trying to not only provide housing in the county, but affordable housing in the county and make housing more accessible. And adding $41,000 per unit to an unmet housing needs unit is a big expense that gets carried through. And so we really believe that we are consistent with the county housing strategic plan, which identified the need to try to abate those.
Ms. Peck, I'm going to actually stop you.
That's fine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay, supervisors, if you have questions for the applicant, you can feel free to do that right now. And I will first ask, of course, Mr. Letourneau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Packy, I appreciate the work that we've been able to do so far on this application, particularly as it relates to the sidewalk. Obviously, Mountain View Drive is a very unique street in that it does not meet VDOT standards, and there are concerns about pedestrian access. The one kind of thing that we've been working on over the last week or so is related to watershed, and in particular a concern. I met with the Department of General Services folks, Chris Stone, that you just heard from, and others, and we do have a concern that water is currently flowing from other properties onto this property, essentially through it, on its way somewhere else. And so when this is developed, there could potentially be impact of that water being moved elsewhere. So in talking to Building and Development and General Services and the County Attorney's Office, they're recommending a watershed study to evaluate stormwater impact. Now, I know that you have told us you've done some type of analysis like this. I haven't seen that. We would like the opportunity for Building and Development to look at that, but I also would like potentially to proffer some type of a watershed study if that's needed once we've looked at it prior to action. So is that something that you can work with us on?
We can certainly talk with staff, and I would like to know the scope of the watershed study because this is an area that has existing issues. We know that, and but we also know that from the analysis that we have done so far on this, that the amount of flow from this property and the rate of it is going to reduce. In the post-development condition because we have to design to the state standards and the county standards. So would like to sit down and better understand what we're talking about here for sure, but definitely want to continue the conversation.
Yeah, no, obviously that would be the case. We just haven't, obviously, I know there was some kind of communication issue, it sounds like, about that study. So we haven't seen it. So obviously our staff will need to look at it and try to scope out exactly what that would be. And so I'll just ask you now in my time, given that issue, can we go ahead and extend your critical action date to the September 6th meeting?
Yes, we'll agree to that.
Okay, thank you. That's it for me, Madam Chair.
September 6th, is that the date? Is that that's the first meeting in September? Because I thought it was the first.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
Maybe I'm wrong. It's the 6th? Oh, yeah, the first is a Thursday. Yes, you're not. You are correct, Mr. Letourneau. It's the 6th. Thank you, Ms. Crown. Ms. Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When did the applicant have its first meeting with the neighboring residents, and how many have been had subsequently?
We had our first meeting in January, I think was January of, let me look at the staff report because it actually lists it, I think, in there. January of 2020. Let me see. 21. And then we had another one. No, I'm sorry. It was early 2021. Then we had another one subsequent to that in May, June timeframe of that year, the same year. We have also met with the reserve at South Riding, HOA. Actually met with them twice virtually. So we've met with them on the issues. And I would tell you that the second meeting was the residents of Mountain View asked that it be recorded, and we did. I was happy to do that. And we provided that recording to Supervisor Letourneau's office and identified the same questions, same issues that we continue to hear about.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brixman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was actually one of my questions. I read in the item that you guys have had 4 community meetings. Is that in addition to what Supervisor Letourneau has had, or are those the same meetings?
No, those are in addition to, I believe.
In addition to, okay.
Yeah, I haven't been.
You haven't been at meetings
the
with
ones
him.
that Mr. Letourneau, Supervisor
Okay.
Letourneau had.
Okay.
I will say that Supervisor Letourneau's planning commissioner was at the very first meeting that we had with the Mountain View residents.
Okay, great. Would you mind going to slide 6 on your presentation?
Yeah.
Oops, that's 5.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is sensitive. There we go.
Okay. I was just curious, what is this?
That is an area that's being used by the property owners next door as a storage area, or
Is it a business, or is it just cars and trucks, or?
Cars and trucks. I don't know if they're running a business.
You don't know
out
if
of
it's
there.
running a business. Okay. I was just curious about that. And then could you repeat again what the percentage of open space is going to be?
We've proffered to a minimum of 40%, but what you see on that slide is roughly 45%.
Okay. And how much is this width here? Like between, the buffer, I guess?
The buffer, we looked at that today. The buffer between, on the southern side of the internal road is right around 60 feet.
60 feet, okay.
Yeah, it's a wide area, and frankly, we wanted it to be wide because we're going to be putting buffering along that property line too, to buffer us from the adjacent property.
Okay. All right, I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Turner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Has the applicant ever been involved in any project that requested a watershed study before?
I have not, and actually, I'd need to talk to, our engineers to understand what a full watershed study is. When we did our preliminary stormwater management plan for this, which, at a zoning level, we don't normally do. But we did it because we needed to understand what was happening with stormwater for this project. When we did it, we actually did it based on the 50 units. And then we've since reduced it down to 41 and pulled out of some of the area in the Panhandle area. So we looked at the surrounding property, pulled the as-built for the reserve townhouses, and pulled the information, from county records for surrounding area. This is an older subdivision that was designed and built prior to the requirements that are in place today and the state requirements that are in place today. So, but want to go ahead and, we'll continue to have this conversation with Supervisor Letourneau's office and staff.
Well, obviously, if you have a watershed study, what if the result of the watershed study is, oh my God, don't build a single house on this property? That's not good news. By the other hand, and I'm sure it's correct, what Supervisor Turner was saying, if there's water flowing through this property on the way to somewhere else, it's entirely possible that your 3 lid features would mitigate the backup damage of that water prior to it hitting your property. Presumably, it's flowing, but maybe not flowing enough. So I think a watershed study is critical, but it kind of falls under the category of be careful what you ask for.
Well, that's why I want to understand really
Right.
what staff is asking for
Right.
here, because, there are existing issues out there today. We cannot exacerbate those issues. We can't add to those issues. And in fact, we believe, based on our analysis and the preliminary stormwater plan, that it's going to reduce the off-site flow and
That would be
rate.
my assumption too. So I thank you for talking about the watershed study. I haven't proffered it yet, but I think that's a good step. Thank you.
All right, I'm now calling on Mr. Sains.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Sains?
So the follow-up with the watershed, is it required for this by the state or the county?
No, that's not a typical requirement. What is required is when we submit our construction plans for this project, then we do have to do a detailed stormwater management and BMP analysis so that we cannot increase the amount of stormwater that would run off this property. We also have to treat it. Currently, it's not being treated at all because it's an older property. And so we have to meet the state and the county requirements for that. And it usually takes us about 8 months to get through the county process to, work through the county's requirements on what's needed when we develop a site like this.
Okay. And do we have a developer or there's no developer as of yet?
No, there's no contract purchaser on this property at this time. My client is a gentleman, he and his partner are gentlemen that their community has identified affordable housing as a need in the county. And he came to me 2 years ago with this property and said, we looked at the general plan. This is in an area in the general plan that's, identified for housing, and we'd like to try to do something to help the county. And he's here and he can speak to that himself.
Okay. Well, let's be honest, he's going to be, when the time comes, helping himself a lot too, so.
Well,
let's be honest.
somebody has to take the risk too, in order to get through the process
okay.
and build the houses, so.
All right, but yeah, he doesn't have a developer now, but I'm assuming if things go to your plans, then, there'll be a developer knocking on their door at some point, I'm assuming. That's how these things go. All right, so would this be a new HOA? Would it be folded into an HOA or?
There is no existing HOA out there. This would be its own HOA that would maintain all the facilities and the active recreation and all of the.
All right, so go out, well, you don't have it in this picture here, but all these townhomes here and these townhomes here.
They have their own HOA.
They have their, so you're not, so you haven't proposed to fold in with them or anything?
No.
So this will be a standalone?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and they're going to do their own trash and snow removal, landscaping, all that stuff
Right.
that comes with it. Okay. All right, those were my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You had like 10 seconds left, so use it up.
Can you, Chair Randall asked about a image before. I didn't see any.
We don't have elevations because we don't have a builder.
Oh.
We have proffered to design guidelines for materials
That
and
makes,
all
yes,
of
that
that.
makes sense. Okay, thank you.
So we're saying the words ADU. Are we using that word specifically as it meant? Is this people from 35 to 85 to 90% AMI?
Well, in the ADUs, we have 6 ADUs, and that would be, these are all for sale units that we're proposing, so that would be up to 70% of
Up to
AMI.
70% AMI.
And then for the 2 UNUs, that would be 70 to 100% of AMI.
Okay, all right, thank you. I always ask this question. Anyone who comes to me should know to expect that these 2 questions always come out of me. Have we checked the schools to see if schools have capacity? And we know that schools have capacity.
Yes.
And you've already yes?
Yes, in the near term, there is a slightly over 100%, but by the time these units would come online, it's back below 100.
Okay. And that's for elementary, middle, and high school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you've already alluded to this, but the road improvements you will do will increase the road capacity and level, not decrease it, not even leave it the same, but increase it as far as you know right now, correct?
That's correct. I mean, it actually improves the safety of the road because today it's not a standard 2-lane VDOT road.
Yep.
So this will bring it up to a standard 2-lane section from the western property boundary of this property out to Poland Road.
Okay.
So it makes that a much safer section of the road.
And you said it, but I think it bears repeating because I talk about it all the time. these attainable houses are for purchase, not for rent.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this may be a question for Mr. Letourneau. And I would never kind of walk back into an application in a district, as chair and kind of fiddle around with it. But, and I won't do that. I'm just asking the question. 5 parking spaces seems excessive to me. I actually would rather see more green space and less parking spaces. I mean, five parking spaces per unit. I get that you want to have more than 2, but 3, even 4, but 5 is a lot. Can you just give me a rationale for why? Was that something you were asking for, Mr. Letourneau?
Yeah, so that includes the garages and the driveways.
Yeah.
So it's not really
It is,
5
though.
per unit. I know that's what we say, but there's no way you're really going to get all those cars in the driveways and the garages. So what we heard from the residents is a real concern because there's no street parking available anywhere here. So if anybody has guests or anything, and you got 1 car in the driveway, 1 car in the garage.
Is it a 2-car garage and 2-car driveway?
Yes.
It's technically a 2-car garage, but I would ask that we work in the real world with the size of these garages and the doors that open and things like that.
Okay.
So we were very attuned to that. We only added a few,
Okay.
and after planning
Yeah,
commission.
I understand what you're
but
saying.
It's more for guests and things like that.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. All right, thank you for answering that. Okay, supervisors, we have quite a few speakers on this item. When I call your name, if you come to the podium closest to us, state your name for the record. Everyone will have the same amount of time to speak, and I will try to call your names in advance, and so you know that you are up next. Our first speaker is Tanya Hodgson. Our second speaker is Mary Grossman, and our third speaker is Sudha Petty. Miss.
Tanya and Mary, they have submitted their statements.
Oh, they submitted their statements. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Then Mary Grossman, Sudha Pete, and Gary Bunkart. Sir, I'm gonna. No, you can go on. So you said that she submitted. They submitted their comments in writing.
Right.
Of course. All right. Wonderful.
Mary has.
Yep. So, Tanya and Mary have.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for letting me know that, sir. Good evening. Ready
Can I
when
start?
you are. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Chair and the Board of Supervisors. My name is Sudha Pete. I'm a resident of Mountain View Drive. As you all know, we don't have a formal HOA. So therefore, we formed an informal forum for our Mountain View Drive residents. I'm speaking as the representative of the Mountain View Drive residents. We're glad to know that the applicant is working with the board and is making some progress in the right direction. We met with several of the board members, and they were kind enough to listen to our concerns. We also acknowledge and thank the board for its efforts. We also appreciate the hard work and support for the existing local residents from Mr. Letourneau and his staff. While some of our concerns are being addressed, we still feel that the product that the applicant is proposing is not the right product for this location. Our residents will support R4 zoning as described in the comprehensive plan. R4 will complement the existing Mountain View Drive and surrounding community. Lower the density, lower the risk of potential accidents and life-threatening situations that are unique to Mountain View Drive and its location. We already have issues with stormwater management. With the proposed development, our existing water management issue would only exacerbate. Lower density would also reduce the potentially worse water management issues. With the reduced density, there would be less traffic and fewer hazards for the pedestrians. With the lower density, there would be lower cost for schools and other public services provided by the county. We have submitted a petition signed by over 100 members of the community, and you should all have the copies in front of you. We ask the Board of Supervisors to perform their due diligence to the highest degree and make the decision while exercising their full power and authority to protect the concerns and livelihood of over 70 years of established community and its current residents. Thank you all for your consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Does anyone of your board members have any questions for our residents? at this time.
So we actually don't do back and forth during this time. This is a time for you all to speak to us. If board members have questions, we do have your emails right in front of us. If you didn't decline, and you didn't decline to give us your email, and we will reach out to you via email or
Yes,
telephone.
please reach out to us if you are the applicant. Come up with any questions after the meeting.
Right. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Thank you. Gary Bunkart, Hari Madamelia, and Sam Boluki. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm one of the old guys that back when we had a David Walker. He delivered fresh eggs to us every day. Plow our garden spot, fields all around. The dead end and the two blind curves we talk about. Never lost a kid. And actually, I think they have improved safety because you can't go fast around a 90-degree curve. And as a dead end, through traffic is reduced. And boy, do the people in other units near us enjoy it now. It's like a park. I watch them go back and forth. Residents of Meadow Lane and Savoy Woods have identified problems that this proposed development can cause. I would like to make a few comments on a less obvious but major concern regarding both short and long-term property damage caused by severe storms. The Jack Clay subsoil in Dulles South caused failing septic fields in many locations, and the county was forced to shut down housing development. The inevitable development of a large area only 25 miles due west of the capital was thereby delayed by many years. Severe elevation profiles combined with the drainage problems created by the same jack soil that led to shutdown of the housing development can lead to increased short-term flow force and flooding effects. Less obvious long-term damage can also occur. Doubling the number of homes in the higher areas within land bounded by Mountain View Drive may significantly increase damage caused by severe storms. Our backyard slopes down to a natural drainage ditch in the wooded back portion of our property. I have seen water from that ditch come up 20 feet or so towards our house. When the ground is frozen, the standing water comes even closer. Such storms may not happen frequently, but they do happen. I am reminded of one storm that shut down Route 50 due to Cub Run flooding. We and many others didn't make it home that night. The Dulles South Area Management Plan developed in this period specifically identifies Meadow Lane subdivision along with the following policy declaration. It is the country's intent to protect the residential viability of these neighborhoods until the residents collectively support a change in another land use. My wife and I have lived and paid property taxes in Meadow Lane for 55 years. It has somehow retained its old Loudon character, complete with its own small deer herd and a fox or two. We only expect the fair and objective action of the kind provided to West Loudon residents.
Sir?
Nothing more, nothing less.
Thank you so much, sir. Hari Madamelia, followed by Sam Baluki, followed by Andrew Boyd. Good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Chair, Ms. Speaker, and members of the board. My name is Hari Madamala. I'm a resident of South Riding. I've been living in South Riding since 2007. And I actually was here for when the Planning Commission was going through the same application. So, and I've heard a lot of the concerns of the current residents on Mountain View, and I know we have, Ms. Packey has spoken to the county and made some changes. I think there are a couple of things that I want to emphasize. While I respect the views of the current residents, and again, it's a 70-year-old property. Most of them have been there for a long time. We got to look at what's around it and how the area has changed right now. And obviously, it has changed for a reason. It's changed for development, for growth of the county. And I definitely don't want, with me living across the United States for the last 25 years, I really don't want to see a California situation in Virginia, in Loudon County, where the county employees, whether it's the police officers, whether it is the county employees or the teachers, traveling 100 miles away from their place of work, and because they just can't afford housing in the county that they're working. And this development, I know doesn't provide an absolute answer to this, but it is going to provide an answer to at least 6 or 8 employees of the county who really deserve it. They really deserve to be there, living in the county that they're working, and really have a nice house. So, and again, as I said, you got to look at that map right now, right in front of us, and see where the development that happened in the last 20 years. The county has moved on. The county is developing. Now you have a lot of the top technology companies in the county, and people want to live there. So I think from my standpoint, while as I said, I definitely respect all the concerns of the current residents there. I think a lot of the concerns have been addressed and will be addressed in the future. But I request the board to really give us an approval, give an approval to this proposal for the very reasons I outlined. Provide 6 to 7 employees of the county affordable housing where they can live in this. And the other request I have is...
So sir,
yeah.
Your time is up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sam Baluki, followed by Andrew Boyd, followed by Benoit Palais. Good evening.
Yes, good evening. Hi. Board of Loudon County Supervisors and Planning Commission, good evening. My name is Sam Baluki. I reside in Savoy Woods Court in Chantilly, and I'm also president of our community HOA, north of this new community, to be a proposed community. I'll be summarizing our community's concern and issues regarding rezoning the 6+ acres land south of our HOA property line in Mountain View Drive from CR1 to the high density. The proposed rezoning could affect our small community environmentally, as well as potentially property values. Our top concerns are 3 of them. One is the water drainage management, which we've been talking about extensively. Affecting Savoy Woods community, it's going to affect the reserve water that you see at the end of the Savoy Woods. We own it; it's part of our HOA, so it's going to affect that and people housing around that. The other is the surface water overrun from the new dense townhouse. Currently, it's dirt. Now, when you put all these pavement around, we will get more water coming through. So that's the concern for us. So as Mr. Letourneau mentioned, we also asked for complete feasibility study for that drainage water situation as for this thing. The second item that we have, there is the minimum buffer between our HOA property line and their property. Our understanding is the developer has decided not to install fence at the HOA line and their property line. They have even removed their original plans. This was the first time I saw what they had back there. There has been never communication. So that's what we think. So what we are asking for is really having the fence between our property line, HOA property line, and their line. That's what we need. The other issue is the residents on the CR8 or CR6 townhouse will not have adequate parking. You mentioned about 5. It's probably too much. It's not. We have seen other properties that they have dense. They have townhomes. They park in our street, and they go to their property. So if they park their cars in our street on Savoy Woods, there's potential that they're going to trespass some of the homes that we own and go to their property. So we ask for the fence between their line and our line. The last concern is really the communication. She said that we have had communication.
Sir,
they have never communicated with us.
I'm sorry, your time is up as well.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Andrew Boyd, followed by Benoit Pele, followed by Daniel Nathan.
Good evening, members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Andrew Boyd. I reside in Savoy Woods Court and a member of the HOA as well. I would like to reiterate that, members of the Savoy Woods HOA estates HOA have not been contacted directly by the developer at any point, and only were brought to this by neighbors that live on Mountain View Road, and were made aware of these, and we became involved. We do have a couple of other issues. I want to bring it up with the surface water runoff. That has been a large portion of the time here. I'm specifically concerned. We have a lot of we have some small children in the area, and the soggy, the excessive water would lead to the soggy, muddy yards, stagnant puddles, and bring waterborne insects, including mosquitoes, as well as destroying flower beds, plants, gardens, landscaping, and possible flooding of basements. And the improperly managed runoff also brings environmental concerns such as pollution, like automobile oil, grease, metals, sediment, bacteria from animal waste, fertilizers, pesticides, as well as sediment and erosion. And we're concerned that the inadequate drainage of the proposed development, which I noticed I hadn't seen any proposed stormwater pond or other of the lid proffers on the map, it would lead to an increase in our collection system and pond, causing possible damage and increased maintenance costs. A second issue we're very concerned with is, I noticed on slide 6 that they had, on the border between Savoy Woods Estates and the proposed site, there was some of the tree line with 2 large gaps in it. I see they removed their original plans for plant trees and a fence on the border there. And such buffers and fencing would be required to prevent pedestrians and animals, such as pets, from trespassing on our common property and the properties of our individual homeowners. While Virginia law doesn't require fencing or physical barriers or signage to put people on notice of trespass, such methods are required to eliminate trespass as an issue. The developer is in the best position to erect a fence between the properties to prevent such ingress and egress. Indeed, the removal of the plans to place a barrier at all on the property line indicates that maybe it's not adverse to people trespassing and going back and forth across people's private property. Parking on the driveways and the streets in the development may not be adequate, and it's not unreasonable.
Sir?
Yes.
I'm sorry, your time's. I know it goes really
Thank you very
fast.
much.
It does. It goes very fast.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That you were Mr. Boyd, correct? Yes. Okay, we have Benoit Pele, followed by Daniel Nathan, followed by Sonali Pete. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Vinod Pale. I live in Fairfax County, and I work in Loudon County. And I have been looking to move to Loudon County for the past 2 years, but I was not rich enough to bid the prices for the homes here. And with the recent recession and the cost of living, my buying power has come down, and I'm looking for affordable housing. Not only me, like people like me. And I appreciate if Loudon County comes up with more affordable housings, high density things, that's really help people like us. And today we are seeing a friction here about how to deal with, but maybe after 10 years we may face a similar situation in Luckett's or Purcellville somewhere, because the city is growing. I mean, we need to make a decision to serve the people, and I hope the county will come to a better decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Daniel Nathan, followed by Sonali Pete, followed by Skip Edgemont.
Hi, my name is Dan Nathan. I live on Mountain View Drive, and every ounce of that water goes through my front yard, and I get to go swimming. If you'd like pictures, happy to send them to you. I already sent them to the Planning Commission. Excuse my speed talking, but I have way too much to say. Things that were said are wrong. Mr. Sains, if you grab your pointer, I'd love it. That property on 3 sides has single-family homes. It doesn't match up to some things you were pointing at, because staff and the applicant didn't point out the family homes to the right of that picture, the family homes, single-family homes to the left, single-family homes above. You're being misled. I really think this has to be looked at. You're also being misled because part of that site was an herb garden. Part of that site is a single-family home still occupied as a single-family home. That's not infill, is it? Your plan, complement or complete. This doesn't complete anything, and it sure as heck doesn't complement it. Minute and 20 seconds left. If you ask Chris, I forget his last name, I'm sorry, but Mr. Water Management, ask him specifically about my front yard. He'll tell you he sees how that's a disaster. Or how when they did the other plan that does complement this a little, how it all rolls into Mr. Bagley's side yard because those dry ponds don't do what they're supposed to. Last point. Your comprehensive plan is great as a guide, as a textbook. But we all know what we learned in school was theory that then had to be implemented into the real world, correct? That's what's missing here. If this site was going on, or this plan, and it came onto Poland Road, which VDOT wouldn't approve, you'd probably get a lot less pushback. But it doesn't. It comes onto Mountain View, where we already have trouble getting onto Poland because Poland is already oversaturated according to VDOT. And now we're going to put 41 more units, pick a number, are we calling that 82 more cars every morning before school? Want to hit my time.
Thank you. Sonali Pete, followed by Skip Edgman. And then we have a remote speaker, quite a few remote speakers, in fact. Jason Witter, followed by Sarah McRitter. Sonali's online as well. Okay. But not in the room. So she's not. Jacqueline, it's Sonali online? Miss Pate online?
Yeah, I'm online.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. My apologies. You can go whenever you're ready, ma'am.
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Good evening, all. I'm a resident of Mountain View Drive, and we love living here. This is the oasis for us with the wildlife, nature, and peace. First thing I would like to address is, as we are active residents here, I have never seen any of the developers or any of the members communicating with us. I don't know what they are talking about, but we never get communication from any of them. And I really don't understand the agenda of the town hall. I'm sure that it is not going to be as affordable as it sounds, with only 6 affordable units, but it is costing a lot to our Mountain View Drive neighborhood. I think everything is at stake, including pedestrian safety, wastewater management, traffic. I think this is a total misfit in the community of our single-family home. My question to the applicant is profitability the goal here, or affordability to few people at the cost of our neighborhood is the goal here? And we absolutely welcome single-family home per acre here. We can accommodate more, but definitely not 41 townhomes, which is still going to be profitable. So I really request the Board of Supervisors to sensibly review our concern and then decide. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Skip Edgerman, followed by Jason McWhirter and Sarah McWhirter. Mr. Edgerman, are you in the room? Going once, going twice. Okay, we're going to go to the virtual. Jason McWhirter, followed by Sarah McWhirter, followed by Akila Aliyah, I do believe. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jason McWhirter, and I speak today both as a resident and a representative of the Forum of Mountain View Drive. As you've already heard from many of our residents and communities surrounding us, as proposed, this application does not gain the support of our local citizens at the density greater than R4, as defined in the current comprehensive plan. Our concerns remain around 4 key topics: density, public safety, traffic, and water management. The proposed high density for profit over the existing CR1 in this location severely increases risk and worsens an already dangerous situation with pedestrian safety, as Mountain View Drive does not have adequate pedestrian walkways or paths to access any commercial or public services along or across Poland Road, and that includes access to school bus stops. Increased density further compounds those and adds new dangers, adding significantly more traffic volume to this unique and already dangerous location with existing challenges. Furthermore, Mountain View Drive has unfortunately been the recipient of water from surrounding developments, which I would like to point out that this board approved over the years, and that further exacerbated an already very poor water management situation and caused further safety concerns and property damage. Our community would like to ensure before you approve any development in this location, this time directly in our community, that any water solution in that development will not further worsen or continue to do further damage from water. Our community has been reviewed on site by the Loudon Water Management Chief, which he verified great cause for concern. We thank those of the board in an attempt to mitigate some of these serious issues. However, we ask the board and the applicant to seek a density of no greater than R4 for this location as proposed and supported prior. We believe such a density would better support continued change, development, and detailed comp plan, balancing the mentioned risks and better complement the existing and surrounding communities. To staff, I believe the comp plan states that this must complement the existing community. Your response to the earlier question was it complements the townhouse community, which this is not. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah McWhirter, followed by Akila Ayala.
Hello, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine, ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Sarah McWhirter, and I have lived at 43314 Mountain View Drive for the past 17 years. And it is Mountain View Drive, not Mountain View Road, as referenced by the applicant and staff. This shows a disrespect and lack of concern for our neighborhood. In line with this disrespect, I believe the applicant is using the ADUs and unmet housing use as an excuse to get the project approved when it really is a bad fit for this area. In addition, the residents of Mountain View Drive have only met with the applicant twice, and they have never gotten back to us with answers to our questions. The proposed improvements to the road are only for the section they are building in front of, not the whole community, so the safety issues are still mostly unaddressed. In addition, the 10-foot proposed easement is unacceptable when it should be at least 50 feet and potentially more to keep residents and children away from the road. I understand improvement is going to happen, but I ask you to make sure it is an improvement, not a detriment to the surrounding area. We are a community of CR1 homes that are already surrounded by townhouses. The increase in density that is being proposed isn't safe for the current or future residents. Our residents in the developments around us use our street to walk and get exercise, even though we have a narrow street and no sidewalks. They do this because we are spread out and it's nice to escape from the crowded housing developments around us. It was said by Ms. Crown that Mountain View Drive doesn't have community space, so they are adding parkland for the new community. We don't have these because we have yards where our children can play and wildlife can roam. I am not opposed to a building project on Mountain View Drive, but I am against a housing development with this high of a density. I believe we are making a compromise by agreeing to increase from the CR1 zoning to R4. I ask the applicant to compromise as well and decrease from the proposed R8 zoning to R4. Please also consider the aesthetics of our neighborhood. The development as planned does not have enough room to transition from the proposed R8 zoning to our CR1 community. A previous Board of Supervisors recognized that fact, that anything over R4 would be too much for this area, and I am asking that you recognize the same and uphold the promise to our neighborhood that a higher density wouldn't be allowed on our street. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Akila Ayala, followed by Paramon Premobedehi.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Akila. Today I logged in to extend my support to this application. I have been living in Loudon County for many years now, and with a single family income like mine, I for sure cannot afford an acre home site. And with 2 kids in my family, I definitely need affordable housing. I'm sure this does not address the complete housing problem of the Loudon County, but definitely it is a first step towards an affordable solution. And I'm sure it will encourage many such affordable communities to come up. So I think it will definitely benefit people like me and many others. I would also, as I understand, the concerns of the neighborhood have been addressed, and I also request the existing neighbors to view this as a complementary extension to their existing community and not as an hindrance to their aesthetics or day-to-day life. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Paramon Premodbati, followed by Ajay Bihide.
Hi, Madam Speaker. I used to live in Virginia, Loudon County, and used to stay in apartments and work for Virginia, but couldn't able to find any place to buy or anything else. I had to move out from that place, and now I'm in North Carolina. And now with the back to work situation, I need to get back to Virginia, and I'm trying to look for more properties to buy and definitely support this Mountain View and more other projects to come to buy for other people to buy any properties and stay there. So yes, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Ajay Bihide, followed by, gosh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sankati.
Madam Chair, Ajay and Sankati is not on the line.
How about our next speaker?
Yes, I will put that caller through.
Okay, and he will be followed by Siva Rajamohan.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. Ready when you are.
Yeah, hi, this is Srinivas Dandy Bhatle.
Yes, sir.
From I'm on 25439 Poland Road. Just I'm next to the proposed property development. It's the intersection of Mountain View Drive and Poland Road. And I've been living here for about 20 plus years. And it's a, I'm not in favor of the density proposed. And because of several concerns that were shared by my co-residents here, mainly the Jason McWhirter and Suda, they have already outlined very well. And a couple of concerns that really concern me are wastewater management. So I explained this in my previous hearing as well. Currently itself, my property, I get wastewater from East Gate community and from Mountain View Road as well. My backyard, my front yard is a swimming pool every day. Whenever it rains. So now with this development, I'm not even sure how it's going to be. I have water almost whenever it rains. And I was promised so many things when it used to get developed. They said they'll put a cement, they pave it, they'll make sure that they will not, and I have not seen them after that. After they promised, they come to me before the approval. After that, I have not seen them at all. Till even now, the problems still remain. And I would appreciate if they get approval from Waste Management and VDOT and then proceed with this application. And as was shared, we're not against the development. We would appreciate if low density is considered. The ADU, I think it's just a marketing. I know 5 or 6 people will get. There's no doubt. We like it. We appreciate it. We appreciate their concern. But I would think it is just a marketing gimmick. It's just like having 100 COVID vaccines for the entire Loudon population. Loudon population is 1.4 million, say, or whatever the number. We just have 100 COVID vaccines, something like that. And I think the Reserves townhouse development, it was also done as a exception basis. So all this used to be a rural area and still remains rural. And I think this is not a good fit for all the concerns raised. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think it's Siva Rajamohan, followed by Vineeth Loka and Shulaka Loka.
Hey, this is Siva Rajamohan. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Can you be a little louder, sir? We can't hear you really well.
Can you hear me better now?
That's a little better. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for hearing out. I've been a resident of Loudon County since 2013. I've lived here since 2010, and I own a house in Eastgate community, and I used to live with my brothers until I found a townhome.
I'm not an expert in terms of all the issues that are raised by the residents, and I absolutely believe their concerns are valid. I support this development from the aspect that I'm kind of resonating the same feeling of some of the other residents who try to move into this community and find a townhome. So I do support this from that aspect, but I absolutely hear the concerns from the residents, and I encourage the county to ensure that the applicants, have a proper plan for the water waste management and, any of the other concerns raised by the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I do believe we may be at the other person in your family, Shalaka Bloka. Is she on?
Yeah, hi, this is Vineet. I didn't get a chance to talk yet.
Oh, no. Is that beneath? I'm sorry, Jacqueline, have we missed someone? Did I accidentally skip somebody?
Yes, Madam Chair, that was Eva that just spoke. This is Vineet who is speaking now.
Okay, we're ready for you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Vineet Loka, and I'm a affected business owner in that area, and that's why I'm here to attend this tonight's public hearing and speak on this application, not as a neighbor, but as a business person. I'm sure you are aware the market for the housing in Loudon County is quite hard. Without an increase in supply of housing, the price of existing housing will continue to increase. There has been a great deal of discussion by the county regarding housing affordability and having housing attainability. Having additional housing supply will assist the county in reaching the goal of housing attainability. It's a simple fact of market economics, supply and demand. I kindly request you support the Mountain View residential rezoning and other legislative applications, which will help the county in reaching its housing affordability goals. So, yeah, that's my kind request. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think the next speaker may be in your house as well. The next speaker I have on my list, at least.
Yes, yeah, Shukla, yeah, she will be talking.
Thank you. Ma'am, we're ready when you are.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Shukla, and I do support the Mountain View residential application. And again, as a co-business owner, we are finding it very hard to find a workforce, as there are no housing in Loudon at all. And we definitely need these kind of applications that kind of bring more housing to the county with affordable prices. Again, I do approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ashwan Man, followed by Karthik Wampu Gunter.
Madam Chair, Ashwan was on. I believe they just dropped off.
I'm sorry. And how about?
And same with the next caller.
Okay, thank you. So, Supervisors, we have quite a few people in the room who are walk-ins, and we are happy to have them join us and have them speak tonight. I think the first one was Anand Subramanyam, followed by Sridham Mariam, followed by Sunrith Palay. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you all doing?
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you for all the concerns that were raised, and I really appreciate your support in terms of looking through this project. And I'm a resident of Savoy Woods Court, just north of the property. And I had an opportunity to talk to you all last month when we had this discussion, and the concerns still remain the same. And I think that there is a lack of communication because we've not heard anything. Previously, at least the builders would come and they'll talk and they'll promise something. And like one of the residents of Mountain View mentioned, they would promise and not deliver. Now they're not even promising and just directly bypassing and coming and putting something that we've never seen before. A couple of major concerns from my perspective, being a young family, Savoy Woods Court is kind of a dead-end cul-de-sac kind of a deal, and we don't want people to be parking and cutting across our property and directly trying to enter into their townhouses. So one of the things that previous speakers had mentioned is about fences. We've not seen anything talked about fencing the property between Savoy Woods Court and the proposed site. Enough has been said about the water, and I really appreciate Supervisor Letourneau talking about the drainage system study and the feasibility for water management. I think that is the requirement, and even though the county does not require, but I think for the sake of individuals, residents who are living out there, due concern needs to be, these things need to be addressed. For those who, again, park at the Savoy Woods Court, it's easier for individuals to trespass, cut across our property lines in order to enter into the proposed townhouses. Last time I had talked about loss of amenities. So when I talk about loss of amenities, what I'm talking about is the property values are going to go down, and that's going to also reduce the property taxes for the county. Other than that, going to talk about in a few seconds nuisances that this proposed construction would raise. As a young family, again, having a young family, this is going to be an active construction site. And after the construction is done, there's going to be increased road traffic. So I think the board needs to address that and give due consideration. And again, thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you, sir. Sridhan Miriam, followed by Srinath Palay. Srinath Palay. Good evening.
Yeah, hello all. This is Sridhar Maram. I'm a realtor. We are a group of realtors, actually. I know that in the Loudon County, there is a lot of requirement for housing. We do every day, we do search for the houses, and so overall the houses are very less. So I do support this application very strongly. Thank you.
Sir, did you just say I don't or I do?
I do.
You do? Okay, thank you. I just want you. Thank you. Thank you. Srinath Palay, followed by Vijay Vatsave. Good evening.
Good evening, supervisors. I'm here to speak in support of affordable housing units. First, let me start off by commending all of you for opening up a dialogue on wide-reaching plan to address the county's shortage of attainable housing. It shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone if I say United States has a housing shortage and Loudon County is no different. Based on a study of housing needs completed at the George Mason University Center for Regional Analysis in 2017, Loudon County needs to create 16,000 attainable housing units by 2040. If you break those ambitious goals down further by year, we need to have 500 net units a year until 2026. This is one more way to meet the established goals as part of unmet housing needs strategic plan. Affordable housing should account for 20% of all new users in Loudon County, and that is currently not happening. According to Housing Coordinator, during the second half of 2021, the county's housing team reported 90 units added, and that took a combination of programs. So we all as a community have to work cut out to bring as many affordable housing units as possible to Loudon County community. Single-family zoning is making cities less affordable, less equitable, and worse for the climate, and one of the major contributing factors to the crisis of housing supply and affordability. One benefit of zoning residential neighborhood is that it leverages existing infrastructure. The roads are already there, and a lot of neighborhoods are in walking distance of downtowns, village centers, and public transportation. See, it's coming to anything like it's always like, I want to have myself. I want to be safe myself. I want to have space myself. I think you have to think about community. You have to accommodate everyone. It's not about myself, my family, my thing. I think you should all accommodate others to come and stay with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Vijay Sevi, followed by Vikram Thumala. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Speaker. Thank you, supervisors, for giving me an opportunity. I would like to bring a couple of perspectives and will make it short. At work, we are losing colleagues as they could not afford the homes here and moving down to south. By talking to friends' kids, came to know that either the teacher or coaches commute from neighboring counties or West Virginia. I think we need more houses to accommodate our teachers, police, fire department, etc., who is shaping our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vikram Thumala, followed by Thay Maran. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm a resident of Loudon County from 2007, and I pulled my trigger to buy a house in 2009. So I think I've been lucky where the house prices are very reasonable at that time. But as we head into the last decade, the house prices have grown so much. How does it impact me? It doesn't impact me in terms of, a house, but it does impact me where my friends have moved, to North Carolina, Texas. I don't know if I can call Texas now affordable, but a lot of people move to different places. So it does impact me where my friends are leaving because Loudon County is not affordable anymore for them, right? What is county or a city is made up of? We may think buildings, jobs, communities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but it's people. End of the day, we are driving people away. And the way the growth happens, it's because of the people, the jobs come here. And because of the jobs, the people come here. It's a cycle. And we are trying to break that cycle with this scarcity of housing in this county. And so I request all the Board of Supervisors to consider housing for everybody and make sure that people stay here, in turn develop the county and the jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. CJ Maran, followed by Svi Nazareti.
Good evening, Madam Speaker. This is Tej. I just wanted to bring in a couple of points today. I've been listening to all the audience, and this has been a great learning for me. The first thing I want to bring up is the property valuation has definitely gone up post-pandemic. The person who was able to afford to buy a single-family home below $1 million mark is no longer qualified to buy the same property for two reasons. The property value has gone up and the market rate has gone up. I have been closely following all the small pockets or small applications that have been rezoning with Loudon County. And what I observe is the time it takes to approve these applications is really long. For some reason, I feel the guidelines are clear. If the approvals can be given faster, the person who was able to afford a single family would have gone to get a single family. The one who could have afford for a townhome would have been able to purchase that. That's not the case today. So I definitely want to bring up to your notice that it definitely makes it much easier to the buyers if the approvals or the process is faster. And coming to the comments or concerns from few of the audience, where they say like they live in single families in the surroundings, and I don't really know. I'm not clear, but what I feel is there should be a good blend of everything. You just can't have only cream living in one area, and you just can't say that since your income is not good enough for you to afford a single family, you don't qualify to live in Loudon County. So I would definitely support this application because this would bring in another 41 families into this beautiful county. And considering the current pandemic impacts on the society, I would strongly request you all to please approve this application. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk.
Thank you so much. Sri Nagareddy, followed by Ravi. And I'm going to let you say your last name when you walk up because I do not want to butcher your last name. So our first name is Ravi, last name is Munagapti. Mr. Nagareddy, you are next, though.
Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening.
And board members. Nice seeing you all. And thanks for listening everybody concerns. I think you have so much patience. Just want to bring up a few things. I was a census commissioner in state as well as in the county. The past 10 years, the growth is tremendous. I think right now we are at 400,000, almost like 20% is gone up. So the challenges is the housing. So how we are going to deal with it? Right now, any application in our county, ours is richest. And the same way I'm looking, we need to provide the services for the builders or developers or residents. We are not. How we can improve it? That's the first thing. And right now it's taking anywhere 18 to 24 months, an application coming in, getting approval, even longer. Time is essence. Anybody putting in their money and looking for 24 months and what is going to happen, not clear path, that's going to be, it's not easy to do the business and the confidence is going to be low. And second thing, the higher, like the big developers can afford, but the smaller builders or developers coming in, small business owners entering into real estate, we need to, how we can encourage them and doing it. There are already things like stormwater, like infrastructure, or like the urban housing. There are a lot of people talking about the cars. So we need to have a public transportation policy or stormwater, and we have a soil and water board. I'm not sure what they are doing or what the things are. And we need to create an environment people can live happily here. We should not have like concern between the residents and the new builders. If we keep those, it's going to be long-term like impacts on the like psychological things and mental health as well. So they came back, hey, something has happened because we raised and like things like that. So I just want to make sure what we make the decisions, it should be simple, easy, happy living. We are all the family. And look at the Northern Virginia growth, Arlington, Fairfax. It's overflowing. Most of the people living in West Virginia and coming and working here. I do support the development. We cannot stop it. People are moving. How we can take care? I do support this application. You need to make sure people are concerned about it, but like we cannot stop it. So thank you very much. What you do, you better do it and have the plan, and like we all need to be a happy family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nagareddy. Rabi, I think it's Munagapti. And then our last speaker, and that person would be remote, and our last speaker is Stephen Bagley, and he is in the room.
Madam Chair, it looks like Ravi dropped off.
Okay, then our last speaker is Mr. Stephen Bagley, who's in the room. Good evening, sir.
Madam Chairman, Board, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Mr. Letourneau, you still online?
Yes.
Excellent. He brought up a great point about the water management issue. I live on Mountain View Drive, and I suffer that issue from the last townhouse community that was planned. My home is the first family home after the townhouses, right above the T in the word "at." My side yard is useless. My backyard is useless when it rains. I'll have 4 inches, 5 inches of standing water. It just doesn't go anywhere. As we all know about the clay in Northern Virginia, it's going to take 4 days for that water to dissipate down to the ground. So I'm stuck. And that was the last townhouse community that was approved. I'm not in favor of this program, but I am in favor of the landowner wanting to develop. R4, absolutely. The amount of ADUs that he wants to put in, I'm all for that. But let's make them all ADUs. I'm all for the police department, teachers, firefighters getting affordable housing. Absolutely. R4, let's make them all ADUs. If there's a way for us to all to get along, I'm all for that. I was lied to. I'm part of the community. No one's ever come to speak to me, not one time. I'm passionate about this because I love my neighbors, I love their kids, I love their animals. We have a great time on the street. We do. If we're going to put in another community, let's do it correctly. Let's make sure it fits as to what's there. Townhouses across Poland Road, townhouses off of Tall Cedars were all pointed out. That's great. They do exist there. But this site is three-sided by single-family homes. Let's just do the right thing. R4 is probably the best, the most suitable option to go in here. Just because they're able to be built doesn't mean they're going to fit the neighborhood. I'm all for ADUs. Again, affordable dwelling units, but let's make them all ADUs. Firefighters, teachers, police department, let's take care of all of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I may have missed somebody. If I did, I'm checking on my walk-ins. If I did, I apologize. I don't think I did, though, did I? I don't think I did either. Well, Mr. Bagley is finished. So, is that the order they came in?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I didn't miss him. He just came in. He's remote. Okay. All right. I understand. That's fine. We do have 3 more speakers. 1 remote. Actually, 2 remote and 1 that walked in. And I have a policy. If it's public hearing, and so I'm going to take speakers until the last speaker walks in the door, because that's what public hearing's for. So I know that even if you're not signed up, if you walk in this door before I go to a motion, I will take you. That's what public hearing should do, in my opinion. And I have the gavel, so I get to make the make the opinion. Benu, gosh, I'm sorry. Is ILABALA? If I'm reading it correctly. I am so sorry if I don't say your name. If you all can do these names phonetically, it would be really helpful. And then after you, we would be Mr. I'm going to spell the last name, DANDIBHOTLA. And both of those individuals are remote.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening. You're kind of echoing on us a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. This is Venu Ilavala. Good evening, Madam Chair and the rest of the council. We have 4 million housing deficit because of the COVID and shortage of material last 2 years. So to fulfill that gap, it will take next 4 years. And still we have a lot of housing gap because of this next 4 years. We are struggling to get that even now. So there is a lot of housing deficit already, and I support this application so that people get houses. Thank you. I support this application.
Thank you. Thank you. Can we go to the next speaker who is remote, please?
Good evening. This is Samapriya, and I'm speaking from, or actually, I live in a property adjacent to Mountain View Drive. My dad actually spoke earlier on the same topic. I think that this proposal should be stopped or at least postponed until we get proper approval from the waste management system and from VDOT, for the reasons that he also stated earlier, such as that the water management system is very off. Our front yard, backyard, especially on our right side, whenever it rains, it turns into a stream, and it's very difficult to even walk out of the house at times when it rains. For that reason, and also the transportation. So on Mountain View Drive, it's very narrow. The actual drive itself is narrow, and so whenever school children have to get on the school bus, a lot of times we see kids from Mountain View come all the way up to our property and get on the bus at our house. And so adding more families to that would only make that more difficult in terms of school transportation and otherwise. And there was an incident last year or a couple months ago where there was a domestic violence somewhere on Mountain View Drive, and that the entire road was blocked off. And so incidents like that would make it very difficult when you add more density to the already difficult to access road. And then furthermore, earlier it was implied that that there was communication from the applicant to the residents here. I'd like to say that most of that, there was not as much communication as has been said, and even that was communicated was initiated only from the residents. So the residents were the ones that actually reached out and asked and tried to address the concerns that they had. So for these reasons mainly, I think that there should be more communication between the residents and the applicant, and definitely there should be a concrete approval from the waste management system or the water management system and VDOT before this moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. I think it's Babu, and it's more, it's kind of, I can't quite make out the handwriting. So when you come up, if you say your name, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Babu Ramraj. So I've been a resident from 2004 here, and I do run a small business. I do work for VDOT and Loudon County and all the infrastructure companies in this area. Like I do work for MWA and the counties. So I run a small business. So I'm trying to hire a lot of folks from different parts of the country because of the demand in the labor. So literally no one wants to come over here because of the expense in the housing and the cost of living here. We're in the business where we don't get much that because if you see the inspectors, they don't get paid more than $40 an hour, or with the family around. So ultimately they can't afford $1 million home. So I do support this community, and I'm in fact I'm a professional engineer in the state of Virginia. I do review all the plans and everything. So if we can satisfy all the stormwater management needs and the infrastructure needs, so if we can support this plan, so that will be really helpful for small businesses like us. So we do bring a lot of business to the county, and we do work for the development for the county. So I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Darius Saidi. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Darius Saidi, and I've lived in Loudon for 30 years. I have firsthand witnessed the progress and growth this county has made over the past 3 decades. As all of you know, the progress has been tremendous, and we are all lucky to be here. I can assure you, Loudon did not make did not make this progress by turning down zoning applications for housing and denying opportunities for future Loudon residents that support our vast economy in wonderful county. I've heard lots of complaints over various applications over the years, but rarely, if ever, hear any complaints about living in Loudon and the lifestyle we offer. The only complaint I hear is the affordability because of the low supply of places to live. When the County Board of Supervisors revised the comprehensive plan, specifically at this property, they wrote the guidelines for increased density of the subject property. In today's difficult housing market and affordability crisis we are experiencing, applications such as the proposed will continue to progress the economic and lifestyle success we have enjoyed as Loudoners over the past 30 years. I do support this application. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, thank you everybody on the WebEx and who've come into the room. We really do appreciate all of your input, all your feedback. Mr. Letourneau, this is your district. I'm going to go to you, sir, for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of Supervisors forward ZMAP 2020-0012, special exception 2021-0020, Mountain View Residential to the September 6, 2022 Board of Supervisors business meeting for action.
Motion was made by Supervisor Letourneau, second by Supervisor Buffington to forward this to the first meeting in September. Discussion on the motion, Mr. Letourneau.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I regret I can't be there in person tonight due to some medical situations going on in my home, but I do appreciate all the speakers that came out. That was a very robust public input with a lot of different viewpoints. It is not often that we are graced with a 55-year resident, I think I heard, of the greater South Riding area. There are not too many of those, so I wish I had been able to meet that person in person. So we have a lot going on here. This is a very unusual area. The street is very unusual. There are some significant existing issues here that I do think over time we need to address. One of the problems is, and I've talked about it before, we adopted a comprehensive plan. We have not done the zoning ordinance yet. And so we have some of these issues. And I think one of the issues, and I think you heard me bring this up maybe last month when we got the update on the ZO, is on this infill development and exactly what it means. Because the term complementary, I think, is very subjective. And we heard two very different viewpoints tonight about whether this is complementary, and staff has taken the viewpoint that it is. And without specific guidance in the zoning ordinance, I think we're going to run into some of these issues as it relates to infill development. I am concerned about the stormwater management issue. I'll address transportation first quickly, which is to say, just for those that brought it up, VDOT will not comment on an application like this. We did have a significant referral to the Department of Transportation. I think it's on page 71 and page 5 of the application, and you can look at that. And those issues were largely addressed in the process. On the stormwater issue, obviously we're all aware of other properties that have developed in the county and ended up having issues. And I want to make sure that we're doing everything possible up front to avoid that. Typically, these issues are handled at the site plan area process. And it's absolutely true that the state regulation requires that the application cannot contribute to any issues. That said, in the past, sometimes that has not always been the case. And this is a very unique area because we have really significant existing issues here. So I do want to pause for a moment, and we brought in Building and Development and General Services and the County Attorney's Office all to look at this issue and figure out if there's anything else that we can do in terms of, even if it's a proffer, to understand better what the water flow is, what the impact of the development would be. And I think that that's a very wise thing to do for us to ensure that we don't have even more issues that we need to mitigate in the future. Now, my time is up on my opening.
Yep, and you'll have time to have a closing. Ms. Glass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My comments are that I want to encourage the applicant to have at least one additional meeting with the neighboring residents to hear and address their concerns regarding safety on Mountain View Drive and the stormwater management issues. I would support any addition to the proffers that address these concerns, as since we've heard this tonight, there are several people who live close by and share these thoughts. I want to thank everyone who came out to speak tonight and before the planning commission. Please know that we hear your voices, and I know that Supervisor Letourneau will work with everyone to see if an agreement can be made. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Buffington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I first want to thank Supervisor Letourneau for his work on this. You guys, we all work hard up here, but I'm not sure that anyone works harder than Supervisor Letourneau on applications in his district. So he hears you, we hear you. I'm sure that he's going to work as hard as he can.
Almost looking at you.
I'm not trying to put down any of my colleagues here.
Looking at you, though.
I'm just saying he does. And so, we appreciate you all coming in. We hear you. I appreciate the applicant too. This really is not a bad application. I'm not sure exactly where I stand on it yet, and so I look forward to hearing the results of further discussions that you're having with Supervisor Letourneau and the community about these stormwater issues. And one thing I did hear that I thought made a lot of sense in some areas, maybe not the full border of the of your parcel there, is to put some sort of fence up. especially it seems on the, I guess, the north side of the parcel between Savoy Woods Estates. It seems like it would make a lot of sense there, but maybe strongly consider that. I would love it if at the next meeting I heard there's a proffer for a fence, and so we'll see what happens. But thank you all for coming out, and thanks to the applicant.
Thank you so much. Ms. Brooksman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to support the motion. I think we're almost there. I think this is a pretty good application. If I might, Madam Chair, could I ask staff a quick
Absolutely.
question? In the suburban policy area, what are the densities envisioned, if you know offhand? Because there's been a little bit of a discussion between R4 versus R8, but I think we can go significantly higher in the suburban policy area. I can't imagine that anybody promised that this would be an R4, even in the general plan
Correct.
process.
I read earlier it was 8 to 24 dwelling units per acre at its maximum.
Okay, that was my understanding. So I just wanted to clarify that. I think the buffers are adequate, to be frank, but I know that Supervisor Letourneau has been working hard on this, and I would encourage the applicant to consider some of the concerns over the water issues. I'm fairly confident that it would be accomplished, that you have to adhere to certain policies and requirements in the site planning process. But if there's anything we can do up front just to reassure the residents that we're going to make sure that they don't suffer any more of the runoff into their yards, I think would be appropriate. I think that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to support the motion. I think Supervisor Letourneau has got the water issue well in hand, so I trust his judgment on that. The Fiscal Impact Committee, as the staff mentioned, is discussing not requiring capital impact fees for UNUs. So that will probably be a recommendation to the board later on this year. And the TLUC committee has also modified the 7 criteria under paragraph 2.1, I believe, for suburban compact neighborhood, and recommended that the new 6 criteria apply to infills, and infills defined as between 5 and 20 acres. So that, and that's been the recommendation from TLUC. That'll come to the board and then get included into the zoning ordinance rewrite if it's approved. So that'll be addressed as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Kirshner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I want to reiterate a little bit said. I do want to thank Mr. Letourneau. I think he's done a lot of work on this and really listened to the residents. You can't have a better supervisor than the work that he does within his. It's very evident within his district, and so he should be recognized for that for sure. This is an application. It's a perfect example of the growing pains that we go through here in the county, and the growing pains are really the kind of dynamics between, hey, our policies are, we know, and a number of the folks said it here tonight, that we're desperate need of housing. There's a huge demand for it, and so, balancing that, and, so part of our policy, as Mr. Turner mentioned, is some of this infill that we've been working on the TLUC committee, and balancing that obviously with, and especially in these infills where you're pushing up against other properties and that have been there for perhaps some time, and making sure that you accommodate not only the need for housing but the need for the residents. Overall, I think this applicant has done a pretty good job. It's actually, I appreciate a number of the proffers that have been made, especially the additional parking. I think that is an ongoing issue, and we developers who come in and do these infills should definitely take note of that kind of policy that we need, especially given the garage situation as explained. I really appreciate the 20% affordables. That is kind of our benchmark, as is mentioned before, kind of the golden standard. I think this applicant has done that. I think we're at 19%, so maybe we're missing it by 1%, but a lot better than any other application that's come in recently, and I'm pretty impressed by that. The green preservation area, I think we have over 40% open space. That's very significant. I also and that was partially helped by reducing the number of homes from the original application, so I appreciate you working on that and some of the improvements. Just kind of 2 last things in my comments I would mention. I think I guess I did know this, but I know we're working on these cap improvements for the UNOs, and what people need to understand is essentially these are homes being provided sometimes at a loss or at cost to the community in order to help with the affordable housing. And I think it's a little bit extra to ask a developer to come in who takes a lot of the risk, who spends, $500,000, $1 million to develop, to come in and present a site and then say, hey, oh, by the way, you also have to pay cap facilities for this, for something that you're already providing at cost. And the only last thing I would mention, I do think, if anyone here, I think Chair Randall would probably echo this, and we were dealing with this today in some mediation, and that is specifically concerning the wastewater and potential flooding of neighbors. I think that we really need to be sure about that. I've been dealing with this up at Selma for the last, probably ever since I've been on the board, and it was a very serious issue. So I would like, that is the one thing I would say to the applicant, I'd like to have those concerns that have been addressed by Mr. Letourneau and others. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I hate to interrupt, but I need to make an important clarification.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Briskman's response, I had, took it as the larger suburban policy area specific to this area in the neighborhood place type. It is anticipated 4 dwelling units per acre. Infill up to 6. This is at 6.5 with the addition of the ADUs and the UNUs. So I apologize for the interruption. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Saints. And actually, that was in our staff reports.
Yes, ma'am.
That was in there. Mr. Saints.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just real quickly, want to say thank you to all the residents who came and spoke in person or over the online today and sharing your comments and concerns and giving your suggestions and thoughts on this application. It's clearly you care about this application in your neighborhood, so we thank you for that, taking the time. To the applicant, you've come down on numbers already one time. I would ask you to possibly look at it again and see if there's any way to maybe come down just a few more to relieve some of the fears from some of the other residents in regards to traffic with the new residents moving in. And I hopefully you can continue working with Supervisor Letourneau on some of his requests, and also look at extending the sidewalk and curb and gutter a little bit further on Mountain View Drive, if possible as well. And that'll be it for me. So thank you.
Thank you. So, Supervisors, if you would give me a second without being on the clock, I want to just kind of go over. We've had some people talk about the zoning and the comp plan. I want to just kind of make sure everyone is on the same page. So we went for a really long time in Loudoun County without updating our comp plan, which is not great because there's so much development that happens. The last term, we updated our comp plan, and it took us literally almost the entire 4 years. I think we approved it, in like July or something like that, so almost the 4 years. The zoning sits under the comp plan. The comp plan is a guideline. Zoning is law. And so when you keep hearing the zoning is out of compliance with the comp plan, we are doing our zoning ordinance right now. We are doing it right now. But we couldn't have done the zoning before the comp plan. And so the zoning is out of alignment with the comp plan, but we're doing it now and getting it done as fast as possible. And so some of the confusion we've just seen over the past, this term, to be honest, is because we have a new comp plan, although, every comp plan needs to be tweaked and by law should be revisited every 5 years, hadn't been revisited in Loudoun County for 18 years. And now we're doing the zoning. So that's why you hear the zoning and the comp plan are out of alignment, but we are doing the zoning, and we will finish it this term as well. All right, now I'll go on the clock. Thank you for that. I keep hearing things that I don't know is true, and I have to deal in facts. Not dealing in facts is, I can't make decisions like that, and it's a little bit frustrating. I keep hearing it's going to lower property values. Can we, staff, please check with Bob Wirtz to see if this was approved, with the property values of the residents who are there already be impacted 1 iota? Because I've heard that now 3 times. I don't have proof of that, and I need to have proof of that as I make decisions. So if that can be done, I would appreciate that. I keep hearing that it will make the traffic worse, when in fact we're going to have a road improved to a standard that it's not at now. And so can we check on literally the road level? What is it at now? What will it become after this is done? Again, I'm not saying I'm leaning one way or the other, but if I'm going to make a decision, I have to make a decision based in facts and not in speculations one way or the other. So those two things would really help me quite a bit. I am a bit confused when people keep saying that there's, well, first of all, there is a house right in the middle of this site. Is that house right now occupied? Not you all. Thank you very much. I'm actually, but yes, but you spoke already, and I'm not speaking to you right now, sir. Is that house occupied?
The house is being rented right now.
It's being rented?
Yes. And
And have you talked to the homeowner, and what's the plan for that? It's being rented, and so the homeowner will...
the applicant owns this property.
Oh, the applicant owns the property,
That's
and they're
right.
renting the house on the property?
That's right.
Oh, okay, that's clearer. Thank you very much. And then, so, and I guess this is something, Miss Letourneau sent me a text that says I should come out. I absolutely will come out. I'll do one of my my famous field trips. Happy to do that. But if it's this much flooding already, I think there's a problem with the flooding that's already happened. Whether or not we say yes or no to this, the flooding that's happening now seems to be an issue, and shouldn't we be dealing with that right now? So I don't know if the issue is, if obviously we don't want the flooding to be made worse, but if it was made no worse at all with the approval of this application, I am kind of curious as to why the flooding is going on now, and what can be done separate and apart from he did already, separate and apart from whether or not the application's approved. And so if somebody can give me between now and September 6th an answer on that flooding question for the houses that are there, Mr. Letourneau, you may know that answer right now. I'd appreciate that. We did already extend the critical action date to September 6th, so I appreciate that. And I think that's all the questions I have. Mr. Letourneau, would you like to go back and have a closing, sir?
Yeah, so you stole my thunder a little bit with what I was going to say, which is that regardless of this application, there is a significant issue now. We have been aware of it. We were hoping that the paving of Mountain View Road, which we helped facilitate with VDOT, would help some of that with drainage, but it's a continuing issue. That's why General Services has been out to this property, this area, and is familiar with these issues. As you recall, the board asked General Services for a stormwater sort of program that the county would have. And a lot of this was in the context of the Selma issue, but it was discussed as a countywide issue or a countywide program. And my understanding is that that's coming back to us in the fall. And I think, the issue is there's no real infrastructure here. This was built prior to having homeowners associations and having stormwater requirements like we have today. So somebody would have to come in and probably spend a significant amount of money to fix this. And that somebody could be the county, or it could be a partnership with the residents, but it would need to be through some sort of program that we set up. And we have had that discussion. And so I've told a few of the residents that I can't make any guarantees, of course, and everybody's going to have specific projects if we go down this route. And obviously we heard about our budget situation last night, which is difficult. But if there is a program like this that we set up, this is definitely an area that should be seriously looked at for that kind of mitigation and assistance. So, and I'm certainly willing to do whatever I can to help on that, irrespective of this application. And just to address the other comment, yeah, the house that's there is going away because it's part of the application. So that's going to be redeveloped into what's been proposed. Otherwise, I appreciate everybody's kind words. I might have a lot of experience with this. I'm not sure I can bring everybody together on this one exactly, given kind of where we are on both sides here. We have been trying to address the issues kind of one at a time. I think we've made progress on the pedestrian access issue. We've, I think, fully addressed the parking concerns. We'll take another look at the fence on the other side. There is a pretty good buffer there, but the big outstanding issue for me, other than overall density, which is an issue that I have discussed with the applicant, and I don't think there's a lot of movement that's going to happen there. So the board's just going to have to evaluate that issue. But other than that, the stormwater issue is the big issue. So we'll do everything we can to try to bring everybody together, and at least if there's language that needs to be in the application to address this, we'll try to work toward that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Letourneau. Okay, the motion is made by Mr. Letourneau, second by Mr. Buffington to send this to the September 6th meeting. The critical action date has been extended. We do appreciate that. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? That motion will pass 9-0. And with that, Ms. Crowley, I want to talk to you just for a second, okay? I need to ask you a favor. With that, we have no other business before us tonight, and we are adjourned.